as we are in the lecture continuation of this NDT codes and standard, so we discuss some of the basic code details to understand this. So these code and standards play a very vital role for making a kind of component or structure, and these codes are basically defined by the various countries according to their uses, and most of the we considering most of the time from the USA standard, that is by for the NDT, that is American Society on Destructive Testing, and followed by the AWS ASME as well. So why we required these particular welding codes and standards, or you can say the NDT as well. So this code and standard play a very vital role. Again, I told you, whenever a building, bridge, ship, crane, piping, offshore platform, boiler, pressure vessel, etc. is to be, uh, as you can say, is to be welded, that should be examined by these NDT methods for their desired quality, to ensure its performance and the projected lifespan during service as well. So along with the welding operation, these NDT is also recommended with this code and standard. So for ensuring the required quality of the item, the products, and it is essential that it is made to a certain assure with the confidence level. So to achieving this kind of milestone, or you can say the objective or the aim, it is necessary that the manufacturer and the customer reach an agreement to follow the certain set standards, and with the help of these standards, regarding this, each aspects of the construction manufacturing, that basically starting from the these procurement of materials, procedure of manufacturing, through the final inspection before the shipment or the delivery of the customer. So these all points are included for these particular manufacturing and the fabrication of the components. So how these codes are helpful and why it is so important. So the it is known to understand that the all the detailed agreements, including the base metal specification, their thickness, welding methods, filler metal composition, preheating, post weld heat treatment process, inspection and the testing methods, that including the DT and the NDT as well, and other variables. Not the DT frequently, but NDT method, because we are working on the in-service positions, and that basically leading to the moving to affect the welding procedure that is to be followed. And if we are talking about this agreement word, so this agreement also including another performance qualification test, that is for the welders or the person who is performing these NDT test as well. So the person who are making this kind of NDT and NDT examination as well as the weld before the NDT is agreed upon the various kind of a plant welding procedure that need to follow by steps, according to the choices and the requirements. So this detail involves the writing a comprehensive document to cover each and every aspects of the problem of fabrication building items, and this comprehensive document is called a contract. So that code and standard basically leading to the contracts, that we will follow these kind of codes and standard to create this object. So you need to be sign this contract as a customer to to support us to create a kind of a better quality product. So to eliminate the necessary, there is another thing that is also including in this, that for elimination the necessity of the writing a new detail document is like a new job. Several government agencies, society, association have developed a standard document that is called the codes and the standards, so which may be used to reduce the elaborated exercise of writing a contract and great reduce time and effort. So to minimizing these things, this code and standard is applied, and these contract will refer to the code and standard to be used as the constructor, builder, fabricate or inspect the particular product. So as a manufacturer or the fabricator, it is required for the person to follow these code and standard. तो कोई भी मतलब अगर मैन्युफैक्चरर है तो उसको इस पर्टिकुलर कोड और स्टैंडर्ड को फॉलो करना होगा. इट्स काइंड ऑफ अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट जिससे कि जो प्रोडक्ट उसका बन रहा है वो एक सही तरीके से बन सके और जिसमें किसी तरह की प्रॉब्लम ना आए. So to follow these code and standards, these are the very most and important points. So if the manufacturer or the fabricator does not follow the standard and specification in the code, the firm is considered to have broken with the contract. Means if you are not going for the codes and standard, that means you will not going for the quality product, right? Which is defined by these codes and standard. Means you are not going up to the mark and not going for the branding of the product. So that's the contract of their own is to be cancelled out. So sometimes it is possible the manufacturer and the fabricating company that basically stabilize their code and standard rather than the writing new code on their own way. So these are the things that as a contract, as you can say, the contract or the code, the standard, these all are the same things, but can be defined in the modified way. We can see that to inspect this kind of a weld piece, and some jobs may be required for the kind of a fabricators to follow a number of codes. And these code basically, if we are supporting to create a kind of a ship or a bridge is to be constructed, which will also carry the kind of oil and the gases pipes over a span of water. Several code may be involved. So according to the working environments, it is also this code is to be identified. And if we are talking about the India, all the relevant code that would be purchased from the BIS, that is BIS is called is that so as in India, it's required to perform the kind of welding operation or the fabrication. So you need to buy these codes, or you can purchase from the Bureau of Indian Standard, New Delhi. And in other countries like USA, the same may be possibly be available from the American National Standard Welding Standard Institutes. But the another vast welding institute, that is the American Welding Society, that is carrying the structural welding code, may be used for the bridges and the construction. And as you can see in the next that these are the societies that is carrying these kind of things. And if we are going for the petroleum, that is using the API, that is here the API, and API as well, that is then the AWS, and then AIA, Aerospace Industries. So these all the various this is the pressure vessel and boiler consideration. So European nation is also having this kind of uh, test standards. So following these code, we have ASME, American Society for Mechanical Engineering, is also carrying these kind of codes for the boiler and the pressure vessel, and they basically build a 12 chapter booklet for performing these kind of operations on the various aspects of the pressure boiler and the pressure vessels. So all these codes are basically applying for the welding job, and after that we can inspect that, and it must be made available to the person who is for the quality control as an inspector, or the welder who is performing the weld or the job. And these code standard basically can be purchased as we discussed, and their copy is like a kind of book appropriate bookseller or the prosecutor against the cost directly from the agencies. So society or the association will be publishing them. So the code and standard, however, need not to be followed unless they are part of contractual agreement. So these are the various kind of you can say that the societies or the testing institutes that can include the various kind of testing codes and standards, and these are the societies that is utilizing for performing this kind of standard well. So what is the code and standard? Again, the written the various organizations by these kind of organization like ASNT, AWS, ASTM, ASME, API, AIIA, BCE, and so on. So these all are following these kind of a course which is created by them after performing the various practical examples, and then to create a for the quality weld, these kind of a codes and standards to be followed. So the code standard that is written by the various organization that are developed to aid the manufacturer to ensure that only why we basically required these code and standards. So to provide the kind of a safe and reliable welded structure or the product that is to be produced by these methods, or then being inspected as well to provide a quality products. And the person those who are basically going through this uh, association with this welding operation are not exposed to the undue dangers or the other conditions that would be harmful to their health. So these possibilities to be consideration, and as we can see, there are the various kind of countries utilizing this kind of a code for the fabrications. And here we have these societies like ASNT, and these ASNT is nothing just the American Society for Testing Standard, testing non-destructive testing. And these testing is a member based non-profitable professional society, and that provide the NDT related references, materials, technical conferences, and following certification documents. So these only work that is to be done by these ASNT. And then what is they not publishing? They do not publish the standard that is describe how to perform NDT tasks, and those are published by the ASTM standards international, and that is to be discussed in this particular section. So what they did and what they not did do, this to be we discussed to ensure the kind of provide the quality weld and products basically. So this ASTM international standard formally kind of is one of the largest voluntary standard development organization in the world, and these providing a technical standard for the materials, and that material converted into the product, and that product is attached with the system, and that system is leading to the services. So these all are the chain boundaries that is connected to each other, and approx 180 ASTM NDT standards are published in the ASTM annual book. So let me clear one thing first. What is the code that we are talking about all the time, that uh, defining? So these the code is the word that is using basically uh, the code, right? So these codes are very basic and important that is to be considered. And if we set a rule for any of subject, the use of these agreed code is mandatory and is supported by the force of law by one or more governmental jurisdiction. So the code is usually nothing, just an elaborated data or the document which is in some cases maybe run into the thousand of pages or number of pages and costing too much. सो लाइक अगर हम इसकी बातें करें, इसके रिस्पेक्ट में बातें करें कि अगर ये कोड के डॉक्यूमेंट्स अगर मिल रहे हैं तो दे आर कॉस्टलियर, no doubt. So if you are talking about this boiler and pressure vessel ASME code, so they are you need to purchase. It is not available in the free of cost. So in detail it may be include all other types of standard mentioned and for the aluminum welding qualification code, that is the issues by the other kind of documented standard, the BIS and AWS, and that is CSA, that is the Canadian Standard Association as well. So we talked about this code. What is the standard now? So we going to the standard is a kind of documents that is specifying the nationally or internationally agreed properties for manufactured goods, or standard procedure for doing a job or a method of carrying out a test, etc. So these are the points that relating to the standards, and such a standard normally deal with the single item of reference, for example specific welding electrodes, equipment, inspection methods, etc. And these such standards are normally issued by the government agency, and in a country like India, it is done by the BIS that we discussed earlier, that is the Bureau of the Indian Standard. And in the other country like that is the nationally recognizing agencies association of UK or USA, that are relating to the BSA, like British Standard Association. And however for the USA, that is having the large number of organization that we will discuss in this lecture, or in the previous in the next lecture for this standard. So these are basically in front of you, that is the ASNT, ASNI, ANSI, that is American National Standard Institute, American Welding Society, American Petroleum Institutes, and so on. So all these we will discuss later on step by step, and to understand these kind of agencies work that provide a kind of supportive work for this. So how these ASTM document categories categorize? So these are the following: a guide and a standard. So a guide is a compendium of information or series of options that does not recommend a specific course of action, and guide increase the awareness of information, and it approaches in a given subject areas. So the practice is a definitive set of instruction for performing one or more specific operations or function that does not produce a test results. So example of these practice include but are not limited to application, assessments, cleaning, collection, decontaminations, inspections, installations, preparation, sampling, screening, and training. And the test method is a definitive procedure that produces a test result. For the example of the test method, that included but are not limited to the identifications. So that this basically test method is a kind of a procedure that is having the kind of a test result. So if we are talking about this test method, that not limited only to the यू कैन से कि इतना ही नहीं कि मतलब बस सिर्फ आइडेंटिफिकेशन कर रहे हैं एंड मेजरमेंट कर रहे हैं, इवेलुएट कर रहे हैं वन और वन क्वालिटी को, करेक्टरिस्टिक को देख रहे हैं, प्रॉपर्टीज, तो ऐसा नहीं है, बट हम और भी सारी डिटेलिंग को इसमें बेहतर तरीके से जान सकते हैं. तो दीज बेसिकली ASTM एंड ASNT. एंड if we are moving towards for the next detailing, that is this kind of specimen work, sorry, the standard work that is relating to these ASTM standard. And as you can see, the sum of the company of the ASTM NDT standards are as follows. So we will continue this lecture with another video. Until now,